morning. Cup of Joe morning show. Yeah, Cup of Joe morning show. Good morning.
We are live. This broadcast failed. So. What's the address here?
Cypress Creek Parkway. Houston.
Okay. 7. With the beans, and if you come here. So are we live on your end?
Yes.
Okay, well, good morning.
Cup of Joe morning show.
I'm doing my best to fight technology, bro. Technology is a beast, man, that sometimes gets the best of us. So what I'm going to do is do one last effort to go live on my Facebook here to get my compadres in. And in doing so, we are going to get started with a couple of conversations, man. That's all we're talking about. Just a couple of conversations here this morning. And it is Wednesday morning, hump day. It is time for the Cup of Joe morning show. And I'm excited, as always, to be here. So, guys, forgive me for being, I'm not distracted. I'm just being, what's the word, bro, when you're trying to do two things at once?
Preoccupied.
I'll use the word, preoccupied, but I'm saying ambidextrous. I'm doing two things at once. While I'm talking, I'm actually sending out messages here just to set up my my tribe on the Facebook Live, which without them, okay. What I'm going to do, though, is get this set up with a quickness and then get right to it, because I believe that today is a good day, y'all. It's a day that the Lord has made, and I'm going to rejoice and be glad in it, in spite of some of the challenges and hiccups that might take place. We are still forging ahead, expecting greatness here for the next year, and actually starting today, man. And we ain't got to wait to 2024 to start, saying how blessed of a year we had, right? We're going to start making that declaration literally right now. Okay. So I'm going live on my Facebook page, and that way we'll make sure we're all in congruency. And good morning to my Facebook crew that's about to join. Good morning to you who are on YouTube and Facebook, as well as
That's all we have. We're also live on Twitter.
On Twitter. There we go. That's what I was looking for, that third one.
X.
Yeah.
X. I don't know what the difference is, but it's now called X.
Right.
I wonder what that's about.
I don't know, but that's Elon Musk, and he's a little different. But listen, guys, I am Joe Humphrey, Cup of Joe, and again, excited as always to be here to share what's on my mind, what's on my heart, and hopefully, we will give you some news that you can use, and certainly some information that can help change your situation. I will tell you that give you like an update in the mortgage markets. I am so excited that the interest rates are finally dropping. Can we get a hand clap on that? It's been months, man. I know I'm sort of like throwing it out there real quick, but give me a hand clap on the fact that rates are dropping for the first time in probably 18 months.
Have mercy, have mercy, have mercy. Man. That sounds wonderful.
Listen, that's an indication that the markets are thawing out, and it makes not only my job easier, it makes my fellow realtors' jobs easier. And our job is to help as many people get into homes as possible. Where when the interest rates, and I'm not here to talk rates, but when the interest rates were above 8%, it made it just a little bit more challenging, for people to qualify for the homes that they wanted. And to see the rates be able to go down literally a full basis point, and then most recently I blocked a loan that was almost 2 points lower than what I just mentioned. So that's very, very good news. That means that that the markets are thawing out a bit. And for those that know about interest rates on mortgages are not just dictated. They're certainly not dictated by us as lenders. They're not dictated by any one particular source. It's really an index, a federal index, as well as the 10-year Treasury bill literally dictates the two main things on what our interest rates are going to be. So when rates were really, really low because of the pandemic, and it was really to incentivize people to continue to look for home ownership, because buying homes is the foundation. The real estate home buying market is the foundation to the American economy. When that is broken up and having issues, then it literally trickles down to every other aspect of the American economy. So, literally what went on during COVID, and certainly right after COVID, was the feds decided to lower the rates by offering lenders, and not to confuse this, but they would offer lenders 0% loans. So when you go to okay, well, I guess they're just going to tell me that I'm not going to go live because it just kicked me out and it's all good. When the lenders during this time were offering, should I say the lenders, the banks, the big banks were offering lenders 0% interest rates, right, to lend. Now, again, you might not believe or may not know that banks, aren't just they're not just lenders. They also have to borrow from bigger banks, right? So it was the big banks. And speaking of the federal bank that basically said, listen, what we're going to do is give a reprieve to these lenders and give them a 0% rate on the money that they borrow from us. And understand the makeup. And I think I talked about this one time, the makeup of an interest rate. And speaking of a mortgage interest rate that we would use to purchase a home is based on two things. It's what's known as the index, which is variable, and the margin. The margin is a fixed rate that normally is the profit margin for that lender, right? So if you have for instance, an interest rate that an index, I should say, that's somewhere around 1.75 or 2%. When you add that margin, which is the company's or the bank's profit margin, you add those two together, that's the rate that they offer. Well, when that index started going ridiculously high is when the rate started going high. So what the feds did was say, we're going to give you a 0% margin. So though the index might be fluctuating at 2.8 or 2.4, 2.5, whatever the case may be, because it was a 0% margin, they were still able to offer incredibly low interest rates right after COVID to incentivize people to buy homes, because again, the home buying market is the foundation of our American economy. So with that being said, the reason the rates jumped back up so drastically, over 8% in most instances, was because it was only a short period of time that the feds were going to allow the lenders, the smaller banks, to operate with a 0% margin. So they basically now are playing catch up. That's why the rates went up as high. So we knew that was really just like a yin yang, or if you can imagine being as a child being on a teeter totter, the heavier one goes to the bottom, the lighter one goes to the top, right? So rates were going down during that pandemic time, but now they went back up. So the cool part is we believe that we're beyond the, even though COVID is still out there, it's just not a pandemic, a global pandemic to any proportion. So now things are beginning to stabilize and the rates are coming back down. And that's good news. Again, that means that you can afford more house, ladies and gentlemen, is what it boils down to, right? So let me do a little housekeeping. I'm going to let my guy know. We got a special guest calling in today. Listen, and I'm excited whenever I can hear from this guy. You've heard his name if you've been on this call before. His name is Sam Bean, and he is the economic. And I don't even know his title, because he has a different title than what I'm accustomed to sharing. But it is a title that is well earned, because he's like the economic equalizer, and certainly he has a lot of knowledge to share, and I'm really happy that he's opened up to allow us to hear some of that wisdom here today. But what I want to talk about this morning is really going to deal with home buying, because I think that's important to know, that now the time, the end of the year, is a time that we should be making assessments on what we want to do better for next year. What do we think we did good in this current year, and what are some of the things that we essentially say, well, listen, no matter how we slice it, I don't need to do that and repeat that this upcoming year, right? So for those people who had considered buying a house, but the rates were a bit higher, which meant that you would afford less house, the good news is, with the rates going down, you will now be able to afford more house, and thus a much lower payment. And I just want to speak to home buying and the benefits of it, not for the next hour, just in this brief conversation that we're having, that the benefits of buying a home far outweigh the drawbacks of taking that leap and owning your own home. The main reason of that ownership is better is that you build what we know to be equity. And equity is money that's stored up in the value of your home, and the equity is calculated by taking the difference of what your home would appraise for and what you owe on it. That difference is equity, right? You gain no equity when you're renting, right? So just in principle, it's always better, if you can, to consider buying a home as opposed to renting it. Unknown caller. Because let me put my thing in do not disturb. That's what I know I needed to do. Because that way, that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck, right? And a lot of times we just don't think that that's a possibility. But I'm here to tell you, you do not have to have perfect credit in order to do a mortgage loan and to buy a house. So a lot of times we want to dispel some of the myths of home buying, because it is somewhat of a big step in people's lives, but not so big that we have to feel that intimidation of, no, we can't get it done. No, you can still get it done. You have to get with the right people that can help navigate that road to home ownership. So what we're going to be talking about that a little bit here this morning, as we anticipate again our good friend coming on and having a sit down and conversation with this incredible gentleman. So I think the first thing that we want to do is to demystify this home buying process, is to say there's always a step-by-step process to success, right? If we just go willy-nilly and don't have a plan, then we run the risk of being likened unto a boat placed on the body of water with no sails, no rudders, and we're just going to go whatever the direction the waves take us, right? As opposed to being more strategic about it. If we're on a sailboat, we set the proper sail, right? Which is to say, we set the proper expectation. If the wind is blowing at a certain number of miles per hour, then we want to, and going in a certain direction, we have to set the sail of our boat appropriate to the direction we're looking to go. So if you have the sails set in properly, even though you're in the wind, there's enough wind to move you, you're moving in the wrong direction, or in the direction that you didn't purpose to move in. And I'm not one who boats, but I tell you, I know enough about common sense theories, right? And understanding how it works. Matter of fact, the guy that I'm going to be bringing on, he doesn't own a yacht yet, but he definitely gets out on them all the time. And he took Cindy and I out on the yacht, and I learned a lot just by being out there. So I know what I'm saying is very valid, in the sense that if we don't have a plan, if we don't have a strategy, if we don't have someone that could navigate us and help us navigate through the process of buying a home, we're likening to, again, someone just putting a boat in the middle of the water and say, have at it. There's no way you're going to know what destination you're going to reach, when you're going to reach it. And in most cases, I think you probably would agree that most of those, in that situation, the boat wouldn't get out of the harbor. It would probably land up on a bunch of rocks. You know what I'm saying? So we want to make sure that you're not liking under that. So the first thing to do is to find a lender. Find someone that can get you pre-qualified and pre-approved for a mortgage, so you'll know how much buying power you have in the marketplace. One of the biggest challenges with any realtor that I know, and certainly even loan officers, is if a potential home buyer is going out and looking to buy a home, and they're not first pre-approved. In other words, they don't know how much they qualify for. They run the risk of going out and looking at houses that are totally out of their price range. And it, again, bodes itself to the issue that now, when they get the pre-approval and they get the proper budget, now when they go out looking, they can't find anything that they like. Why? Because what they were looking at was out of their price range. And it's really difficult to settle in mentally on, a $250,000 house when you've been looking at $400,000 houses. And there's a lot more to a $400,000 house, not just the size of it, right? It's also the amenities of that house, right? So you want to make sure that you first find a lender, and know that all lenders are not created equal. And I don't mean all loan officers, like every person is not created equal. I'm speaking of lenders themselves, ones that will be in the capacity of loaning you money for your home. There are distinct differences between a lender, and that's an actual lender, and one who's a broker. And I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but just know that there's differences. So for instance, when you're dealing with a broker is one that doesn't necessarily make the decision on whether or not they're going to approve the loan. And certainly they are not the ones who will fund the loan once it's been approved and everything's done, right? That the lender actually does that. So if you're working through a broker, the broker's responsibility is to put together a loan package and then shop it around to other lenders who would ultimately be the ones who would underwrite that loan. And then once it's been approved and closed, they would be the ones who fund and sometimes even service that loan, right? So, and when I say service, I mean, you're essentially, the company that you're with is the company that you have an 800 number. You make your payments to them. If you have any questions or concerns, you dial that 800 number and you deal with that customer service of that particular company. That is known as the servicer of your loan. They don't have to be the same one who originated the loan, who was the one that gave you the actual approval and actually funded the loan. Right. So it's just a process. Once we understand how it works, it's a lot of moving parts, but just know to this point that there's a difference between a lender, an originating lender, and a broker. Now, as a lender that does its own origination, which is where I'm at now, and I've been in the broker world before, so I'm saying it's no negative on it. It's just what it is. In my situation as a lender, we're the ones who underwrite the loan, right? As a loan officer that works for the lender, I do the same thing that the broker would do. I would put together a loan package, but as opposed to having to shop it around, I would prepare it to go to my underwriting department. So by dealing with a direct lender, it's more the process is a bit more streamlined. And in most cases, it's a shorter process because we're not having to shop to see what lender would take your file on. We're essentially putting together the file, and we're getting our underwriting team and our underwriter themselves to approve the loan. And then, of course, we have our own funding department that will fund the loan, which means that the bank wire goes to the title company and you receive your keys when it's time to sign your documents. So it's important to know the difference between the broker and the lender. And again, I'm not saying that one's better than the other, but I do believe that working with a direct lender it's more expeditious than working with the broker. And of course, the broker has to make their broker fees, and it's typically a little higher price transaction because they have to stay in business by having a little go over the top for them to actually originate the loan. The other thing I think is important when it comes to the home buying process is the simple fact of filling out the lender application and allowing them to pull your credit. Making sure that you fill out the application and give as much information up front as possible. The misnomer, Malcolm, is that people think that they want to withhold information that they think, if we knew about it as a lender, would cause them to not be approved. But that's actually worse than, what I'm saying? Withholding the information, I think, is actually worse, and having it come up and be blind and the person be blindsided than if you just told them up front. Say, hey, I have child support, even though it doesn't show on my check stub. I just agreed to it because I have a documentation. It just hasn't hit yet. Now, letting me know something like that up front bodes so much better than me going through the process, getting them all pre-approved, getting them out there shopping for a home, and then we find out, that they have a $900 child support order that wasn't shown on their check stub at the time. I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
We touched on that, I think, last week or the week before last.
Mm-hmm.
I liken that to, somebody on trial not telling his or her counsel everything.
Right, exactly.
And
the full story.
You see it on the movies all the time. Why didn't you tell me?
Right.
I'm getting blindsided here.
Right.
Same thing with a loan officer.
Absolutely, because again, just to your point, man, an attorney can prepare better if you know what I'm having to overcome, what I got to get over to the jury. I would rather hear it now so I can be prepared for it rather than hear it come up in a cross-examination or whatever. So that's a great analogy. So the step 2 to the home buying process is to, fill out the lender application, and they're going to pull your credit. But make sure when you fill out the information, divulge as much information as possible. Don't withhold information thinking that that's going to be something that we're not going to find out about or something that's going to help your cause, because in most cases, it just won't. And that really bleeds over into number 2, which is do a clean application with no gaps. Just filling out the full application. The fourth thing is to know your credit, right? Know approximately, at least, what your credit score is. And if you don't know what your credit score is, you have an idea. If someone were to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being terrible, I pay nobody on time, to 10 being I pay everyone inexplicably on time, where do you find yourself? Why am I not on this do not disturb?
Your phone is possessed.
My phone is possessed when it comes here, bro. I'm telling you, I'm on do not disturb. Do not disturb is on.
Phone is possessed.
But it is, man. Apparently. But no, man. To know your credit is pretty important. Let me just let this gentleman know that I'm doing my radio on the radio.
Thank you so much, Miss Cindy Humphrey is a big help to us this morning. She's guiding me along the way. She wants to make sure to contact Joe about your home buying process.
Absolutely.
She put his number up here. I'm following her suit. This is the beautiful wife of Cup of Joe.
She handles this stuff for me, man. My wife is just, she is the one that makes things move seamlessly.
Thank you, Ms. Humphrey. Thank you so much. Anybody else that's tuned in on YouTube or Facebook, please share the video all over the world. Twitter, retweet. Isn't that how they say it on X? Retweet, or is it Re-X now? Re-X now on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, come on. They renamed Twitter X, y'all. So we're live right now, simultaneously on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Y'all, thank y'all for tuning in. This is the Cup of Joe Morning Show. Back to the show.
I appreciate it. And Cindy, if you can, on your end, just direct people, if you can, to this one, as opposed to this, meaning the Real Talk 100 Radio Facebook broadcast of the Cup of Joe Morning Show, as opposed to the live thread and the live video that I tend to shoot simultaneously. We're having some technical difficulties with Facebook. It is what it is. I'm not worried about it. It just is what it is. So back to the list here. Number 4 is to know your credit. And again, you don't have to know your numerical credit score, but you know, on the scale of 1 to 10, if you're a 5 or a 6 by your own estimation, right? The point is, you want to know your credit score and your credit so you can, do things proactively before you sit down with the mortgage person. And it shouldn't be a strange thing to you when they start talking with you about paying your credit cards down, or making sure that you keep your payments on time, whatever the case may be. It's important to know your credit. Number 5 is, once you're pre-approved, start your home search with the licensed realtor, right? And what typically happens, and I alluded to it a moment ago, what typically happens is people, before they're pre-approved, they'll go out on their own and they'll start looking for houses. The main challenge with that, again, is that you're probably, because you don't know what you're qualified for or pre-approved for, you might be out there looking at houses that are out of your price range. And when you break it down to its bare, the bare minimal wisdom, where else would we shop like that? I mean, would we go to the grocery store not knowing how much money we have to spend, and then go fill the buggy up with all this stuff, and then wait for the checkout clerk to tell you, sorry, Mr. Jackson,
no,
you don't have enough money on your credit card to pay for all these here, but you can keep this and that, but you can't get the steak, but you can get the bacon. You know what I mean? Who buys anything like that? But that's what we're doing.
I certainly don't.
No, I don't think anyone does, is the point, right? But we do when it comes to our mortgages or buying our house. We go out without knowing what we can actually afford. So the wisdom, again, is to know what you can afford by getting pre-qualified, and then know that there is a difference between being pre-qualified and being pre-approved. I'll talk about that here now, but just the point with number 5 is also to go on your home search with a licensed realtor, right? Most realtors who are worth their weight in salt are not going to take a client out on the pre-approval to go home searching without a pre-approval, because it would have them spinning their wheels. They're literally the ones out there spending their gas to take people out to look at houses. So if you've done that as a realtor one time, you've done it one time too many, and you know that you're not going to do it again, which is to take people out that you don't know how much they actually qualify for, and you might find yourself showing them houses that are way out of their price range, right? And again, to the point of the pre-approval versus the pre-qualification, most people will have a client shop for homes with a pre-qualification. It's not a bad thing. I just personally like to shore up that pre-qualification by getting all the documents in, verifying the person's income, knowing that, for instance, if something doesn't show up on someone's credit report that they pay child support, but it's being taken out of their check. Well, how would you know unless you got a check stub showing that? So it's important to have all the documentation in. And once we have all the documents in, and these are basic documents like check stubs, year-end tax returns, W-2s to see how much they've made over the course of the last 2 years. Of course, their driver's license and social security card, the main items that every lender, be it a broker or an actual lender, needs to get you both pre-qualified and then eventually pre-approved. So once we have all those documents in, we've basically run the numbers. We did an income calculation on you, and we've actually run your file once it's been put together and chose a loan package. Then we run it through the automated underwriting system. If we get an approved eligible through that underwriting system, then I issue a pre-approval. It is much more strong than a pre-qualification just based on someone's credit report that we looked over in their application, though we have not gotten any verification documents. That is the difference. A pre-approval has all those documents in that we verified, and we cross-referenced everything, and we feel pretty good that, barring any kind of craziness, we should be able to get this person completely approved, because we have gotten most of our big touching points addressed, right? So important to know, step 5 is, once you're pre-approved, you can start your home search with the licensed realtor who can navigate and help you to find homes. Because again, if you're pre-approved for $350,000, every $350,000 house is not going to yield the same payment, right? We base, as home buyers, we base our budget not on the cost of the house, but on how much we have to pay per month for that house.
Yes, sir.
Right. So if you got three homes that are all priced the same, 350,000, but they all have different property tax rates. Well, yeah, the one with the higher property tax rate is going to have a higher payment. So all houses that are 350 or whatever are not considered equal, because when it comes to, and you've heard this before, guys, when it comes to real estate, they've always said it's all about location, location, location. It's important to know that different homes located in different areas have different property taxes, and the property taxes are based on the school district, is based on the mud district, is based on a lot of different factors that most people don't consider. Even with us as a lender, we just look at the tax rate, but when it comes down to getting the actual property taxes for any particular property, we have to go through the county records, through the title company, to get all of those details, because the tax rate is a combination of all these different things. It might be like 7 or 8 or 9 different subcategories that constitute what your tax rate's going to be, right? So that's something that you don't have to put too much thought to, but that's what a realtor does, among other things. The realtor will know that you want to be within a certain price range, not just for the price of the house, but also for your budget as it pertains to your debt to income ratio, right? So all of that, it comes down to the professionalism of the loan officer corresponding with the actual realtor. To do it on your own, I would just say you run the risk of having, a lot of things that possibly could go wrong, right? Number 6 is define your needs. Know what you are in need of, not just merely what you want. You want to buy based on need more than want, right? And I tell people this all the time, that if you go looking for something and you establish and define what it is you're looking for, you have a high probability that you'll find it. Once it's defined, you can find it, right? I'll say it like this. Once it's defined, right, then it can be found. But if you go on your home search, like people go on a search for furniture, for instance, right? I used to work at a furniture store, and it's like the way people would brush you off when you go to greet them and say, "Hey, how might I assist you today? And what are you looking for?" Well, I don't know, but I'll know when I see it. That's just somebody who is either just don't want to be bothered, which is cool, or B, have literally not decided on what they actually want or need, and they're expecting that this furniture is going to come alive and start talking to them. So what I find myself doing is giving them time to walk around the store, of course, and feel comfortable without being berated by someone, but at the same time, giving them the information and sometimes just by asking some simple questions, because obviously most people didn't come into that furniture store without an idea of what they needed, be it bedroom furniture, kitchen, stuff, or if they needed something for the living room or whatever the case may be. But the point is, if you don't define what it is you're looking for, you're just going to make the process that much longer, waiting for whatever you're looking for to come and make its appearance. And in most cases, if you don't define it and you don't know if you really need it or if you want it, most people are going to go by what they want and not by what they need, right? Right. So it's not really the best way to go shopping for a house. So we always say define what it is you're looking for, and again, it has to have 3 bedrooms. We have to have at least 4 bedrooms. We got to have 3 baths. Got to have a 2-car garage. Prefer it to be an attached garage, right? We prefer it to be in a school district that accommodates a good school district that will accommodate our 6-year-old, our 8-year-old, whatever the case may be. Define what it is that you're needing, and then when you do talk with the realtor and sit down with the realtor, they can now narrow down all the selections, all the options that are out there. Why show you a property that doesn't fit your need, right? But if they go blindly, they got to it's like pulling teeth trying to figure out what it is that this client wants. So, and I'm speaking on behalf of some of my realtors by sharing that content. But the point becomes, buy based on what you need, but define what it is that you need, and then you'll find it. You'll have more than one option as far as homes that will meet the criteria that you set forth. And it just makes that process so much less stressful, right? Let's just be real. It just makes that stressful process a whole lot less stressful by defining your needs and what you need in your next residence, right? Number 7 is land on a property that fits those defined needs and budget, and then place an offer on it, right? So while you're out there shopping, understand that other people are out there shopping and they're looking at the same house. They may have looked at the house on Tuesday that you saw on Friday. So if you find one that you like, especially in a very competitive market where there's not as much inventory, not as many houses as there are people out looking to buy houses, you've got to be quick to move on a house that you like, because you've defined what it is you wanted and need it prior to even going out looking for the houses. So they're just showing you options. When you find one that you really like, place an offer on it, right? And if that offer is accepted, then of course, that leads us to number 8. You put an earnest money deposit down, which is typically 1% of the sale price, right? And what that earnest money does, it takes the home off the market. It's no longer open. It'll be what they call a pending sale. So anyone who would see that house, either they could have seen it before, or once you put that offer in there and it's updated in the system, when they come back online to see it, they're going to say, oh, somebody else got that house. They beat me to it. That's how they beat you to it. They put an offer in, that offer was accepted, and they put earnest money down that now changed the status of that particular property. It's still an active listing, but it's a sale pending now, as opposed to just being an active listing that if you wanted to, you can put an offer on. Okay, so land on the property that fits your needs and budget, then place an offer on it. If it's accepted, you're then obligated to put earnest money down. And that earnest money, again, is typically maximum of 1% of the value of the home or the sale price. And that money does go towards that earnest money deposit. It does go towards your deposit on the loan. So if you get a conventional loan that requires, a 5% down, well, you've already put 1% down with your earnest money. So it's not like you got to put the earnest money plus an additional 5% down for your down payment. It covers the portion of your down payment, which again is a conversation that you'll have with someone like myself when the time comes. Number 9 is the contract has a 30-day close date typically, right? The first 7 to 10 of those days is strongly suggested that you get a home inspection, right? Why is that? Because it's what's known as an option period, right? It allows you to opt out of the contract, and it's a 10-day option, right? Now, one thing I didn't mention is that when you put your earnest money down, they also may have you put another very small deposit down, which is known as an option deposit. It might be $100. It might be $250, right? So it's smaller compared to the earnest money deposit, but it's important to have that because that option, again, gives you typically 10 days to make your mind up that you really, really want this house. This is the one that you really see yourself being in. And again, the law allows you the time. You're not going to feel pressured and pushed into a decision on the house. That's why that first 7 days are very important. So with that, even though it's not mandatory that you do this, we always suggest that you go and get a home warranty. What's the significance of that? Well, the home warranty is an inspection that inspector will come in and list any potential issues with that particular house. Now, that doesn't mean that the potential issue means that it's a deal breaker, but you might find that, again, when we bought our home, and I'll bring it to make a bit more sense and I can maybe articulate it a little better, is when we bought our home, we met the gentleman after we made the offer and got it accepted. We met him at the home and he went through and did his inspection. I mean, he walked around with, that type of blue tape that you line, the strip tape for painting. Mm-hmm. He took one of those and just, because it's normally paper. He just went in every little nick or imperfection. He put a little, notation there so he can build his report. So his report had like 125 items in there, right? I mean, if it was a chip in the porcelain sink that looked like the porcelain sink is white, had a little black spot, and it's a chip, he put a little blue tape there to acknowledge that. Now, is that a deal breaker? Of course not. But the point is, their job is to inspect the home and look at any imperfections In particular, anything that will cause you to have a capital outlay, something you'd have to pay for. So if the roof is 100 years old, you would want to know that, right? The inspector will let you know that, yeah, there's probably issues with the electric box or the circuit breakers or whatever it might be, chipping paint. So it's important to know what the inspector's report comes with, but just also know that the inspection report is not a detailed report that will give a value for what your home is worth, right? Most homes are going to be sold in an as is condition. You would just hope the seller has put the home into a position that, you know, they would allow you to buy it and not have to make any kind of repairs to the home in order to move in. So it's what we call move in ready. But if it's a home that was built in 2008, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be, you know, there's no such thing as a perfect house, right? Even if you buy a new build house, that new build house is like buying a new car, in my estimation. I know some builders might get me for saying this, but I mean, houses settle, right? Just the nature of it. The wood and the foundation, it starts to settle. You can hear things inside a brand new building. You wonder, like, who's walking upstairs, man? Is this house possessed? No, it's just settling. And it might settle for the next several years, right? Whereas if you buy a house that's built in our case in 2008, but it has all the updates of all the you know, the amenities have been updated, then it's a different situation. You know, I like that, but the point becomes, I mean, that's my personal preference, but I basically say this to say you want to do that inspection so you'll know if there's any underlying issues that might come up and rear their ugly head that will be a problem for you later on. So that's the importance of getting that right. Now, the next thing you're going to do is going to, you know, pay for an appraisal. Now, this is what is mandatory, right? It's from the lender. It is done by an inspector, but it's not a home inspector who's going in and nitpicking on everything that might potentially go wrong with the house. This is an individual that's coming in to make an assessment on what the home is valued at based on comparable homes in the area that have sold within the last 6 to 8 months, right? So it's an evaluation based on comparables, and it's called a comp approach or a comparable approach. You know, they also have another approach, you know, that they could use, a cost approach. We use a sales approach, but they could use a cost approach, which would be a little different. But the point is, if you buy a home or you put money down on a home that, for instance, is they're asking 325. You offer them the 325, and everything goes through, and now you get an appraisal, and they say that this home is valued at $350,000. Well, you're buying it at 325, so you instantly have what we know to be is $25,000 worth of equity, right? And equity is certainly going to be calculated based on the appraised value, which can change from time to time, right? Based on what it is that you owe on the home. So when it's brand new and you haven't paid anything on it, if it's 325 and it appraises for 350, that's again $25,000 worth of equity just starting off, which is not a bad thing. Now, if that home appraises for less than a 325, then we have some things that we have to negotiate between the two realtors, the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. Because again, as a lender, we are not going to pay, any lender, doesn't matter if it's a broker or an actual lender, are not going to pay more or lend more for a house than what it appraises for. You got a question?
No. I had an itch. I do want to make sure the listening audience knows, if you have any questions, feel free to call in at the number right under your nose. It's scrolling at the bottom. The call-in number is 832-560-2885. Welcome to the Cup of Joe Morning Show.
Yeah, we're being more informative today than joking around and witty, but it's all good, you know, because I think this information is important to know the process. Again, that appraisal is important because it gives the value of the home. If that home is valued less than what it is that they've offered, you can go back to that borrower, or excuse me, that seller through their agent and see if you can negotiate the price down. Now, they might actually have what's known as an appraisal waiver, which means that they'll sell the home for $325. It doesn't matter what the home appraises for, right? And you sign off on what's known as an appraisal waiver. So if that home, for instance, comes in at $315, listen, you're only going to get a loan for the $315. If they're offering asking $325, that means you're gonna have to bring in an additional $10,000 to the closing table to get that house. Does that happen sometimes? It does, absolutely. Especially in those situations where we just came out of, where it was more people looking to buy the houses than there were actual houses to buy. The inventory of houses was very, very low during the pandemic, and directly thereafter. A lot of the builders had to stop their producing the production on the new houses, because the cost of the lumber had gone up through the roof. The cost of other materials had gone up through the roof. Because think about it, during the pandemic, there were some jobs and occupations that you can work from home. But, you can't work from home at a lumber yard. You can't work from home at a steel mill. I mean, you got to be in the facility, right? So when they shut those facilities down, it costs those companies millions upon millions of dollars, and they just have to transfer that loss to the suppliers, who certainly pass the wholesale suppliers, who pass that cost on to the retail suppliers. So the cost of everything goes up. Well, now when you look to buy, and I'm just painting a picture that during the pandemic, when builders, especially the custom builders, had built a home based on the detailed customization that client had in mind. That client had a pre-approval for $450,000, for instance, right? The issue that a lot of builders were running into was the cost of the materials were so much higher, and they were over their projections, and some of them went over their projections by $75,000. So imagine if you're looking to have a home built and you're pre-approved for $450,000, but by the time the home is completed, you don't qualify for it, because that home, because of the cost and the escalated cost of the materials, now has to be priced at $525,000. So you're $75,000 short. That was a scenario that a lot of people were running into. They either have to get requalified at the higher amount, or they found that they couldn't qualify, based on their debt to income ratio, or whatever the case may be. Maybe it was just out of their budget at 475. So all of that comes into play. And guys, the reason, and it's great that you put that up there, Malcolm, because I'm going over this as a, I'm sort of like slow rolling it, just giving you a step by step. But that's why it's important that we wrote a book that really talks about this. It's the home buying process, and it's a guide to financing your biggest life purchase. Now, I also wrote a book for the realtors, so the realtors can, have a better understanding of what we as lenders go through. And it's called A Step-by-Step Guide to Financing Homes. So it's really the same perspective given to a realtor, as opposed to the other book was giving that perspective to a potential home buyer. And it demystifies the whole thing. The books are free. Matter of fact, I should be more proactive, and next time I'll have the link that we can get you the actual link over, and you can have a free e-copy of the book as a realtor or as a potential home buyer. Again, it demystifies it, breaks it all down step by step, lets you know exactly what I'm talking about here, but more that you can read on your own at your own pace, and when you're at your own time. Okay.
Excuse me for a second, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Is that link on your page? I will go and get it and post it for you.
It is not. That's what I'm saying. It's not on the page.
Okay.
But that's something I can get out to you. My apologies on that.
Feel free to call in and find out more about how you can get your free book today.
Now, I'll tell you what I did, just so you know. I actually, a couple of weeks ago, for those that joined us on my Facebook Live, and I can do the same thing when they join on your Facebook Live, I can just go in to their comments and then just drop the link, and they can just click on the link, and basically get their free version of the book. It doesn't necessarily have to be the actual tangible book. Matter of fact, if you go on the link has the book, and you can turn the page with your mouse, and it even has a sound effect of, the page is turning like.
Yeah.
So it makes it sort of cool. And I actually, that was one of the features about the book, the ebook, that I really, really liked. It gave you the feel of actually turning the pages of an actual book. But yeah, the books go over what we're talking about here, because again, nobody knows all this stuff inherently. I mean, you learn as you go. Now I have people that tell me, hey, I bought this. I'm not new to this. I ain't, this is not my first rodeo. I done bought 4 or 5 houses. I'm like, I understand that, but that does not put your knowledge base over that of a realtor or a mortgage person. It just doesn't. So there's different changes and different nuances in the laws that you want to make sure that that's why they have to have us licensed. And that's why we have to, as a lender, we have to have what they call CE classes, continued education classes every single year to qualify for being certified to be a mortgage loan originator. Realtors have to take that continued education every 2 years, right? Because there's just so many different changes that take place, and you want to be up on those changes. And again, that's why they license us to do this here. So again, appraisal is ordered along with title at the same time, and we can get to some deep stuff, but there's no need to go deeper than that. Just know that the appraisal is ordered after you go under contract, after the earnest period is over. Matter of fact, we'll order the title and the appraisal right away, right? Number 11 is your file is moved from processing to underwriting, and these are 2 totally different departments in the mortgage offices or the mortgage company, right? So the processing department literally processes the person's file, preparing it for the underwriter, right? The decisions to be approved or not approved or denied is not done necessarily in the processing department. Though if items are not given to them in a timely manner or inappropriate or incomplete information is given, they'll kick that file back to the loan officer and say, either get me what I need to prepare this file to go into underwriting, or you're going to have to turn that file down from your desk, Mr. Humphrey, right? So the processing department literally works in conjunction, and I don't want to say they don't work for me, but they work sort of like for me and my client to prepare the file to be put into the underwriting department. The underwriting department is where the final decision is made. And that's with any lender. That's why, again, there's a difference between a lender and a broker. The broker doesn't have the Oh, somebody's calling in. I wonder who that is.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Morning Show. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with this morning?
Sam Bean, good morning. Good morning. How we doing?
Good morning, Sam Bean. You a little early, brother.
Yeah, I know. Hey, early is on time, man.
That's what we've been talking as for the last 20 years. To be early is to be on time. How you doing this morning?
Bro. Man, I'm fantastic, bro. It's fantastic. I went to sleep this morning about 6 o'clock after watching podcast last night, man. So it's been a long night of learning.
Right. I saw that you had texted me a couple of times, and then the last one you said you laying it down. I'm like, man, it's 4:50.
Yeah, bro. That's exactly. You got a better count of the time than I did. I was delirious about that moment.
Oh no, I just looked at him on the time on my phone. Listen, how about we do this? I want you to be on standby here because I want to finish up the topic that I'm on now.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I want to just have a conversation with Sam Bean. That's all we're gonna do. It ain't nothing scripted, Bean. It's just gonna be us just talking.
All good.
You know how we do.
Yeah. That's good. I just want to make sure I called in early or whatever I needed to do, and I can. You want me to just call back in at 11 o'clock on the dot, or you want to just stand on hold?
How about you do this? You tell me, engineer. How would you want to? You wanted to free the line up, or how does that matter? Or does that matter?
I would prefer the line to be clear. I prefer that, but
I can do that.
We can leave you on though, Mr. Bean, because I can always put it on hold and answer the call.
Nah, I'll call back at 11 o'clock. I'm right at my desk. I'm good.
Yeah. So you won't have to just wait on the line. Yeah, just jingle us right back at the top of the hour, and then we might have some music.
I got you, baby.
But we'll have you ready to go.
I got you.
Okay, Sam.
All right.
Thank you, brother.
Peace.
So again, Mr. Sam Bean is going to join us here in just a moment, and I'm always, as I mentioned, excited when I can talk to Bean, man. So you're gonna get a little bit of what I get when I do talk with them. But back to our regularly scheduled program. Let's finish this up real quick. Once your file is moved from processing to underwriter, the underwriter again is the one who makes the final decision on your loan. That's why I was alluding to that as a broker, they don't have an underwriting department because they're not making the decision. They're just packaging the loan and sending it out to a lender that has their own underwriting department and certainly their own funding department, right? So step 12 in this process is the underwriter approves the loan with conditions, which is called a loan commitment. It basically means the loan is approved, but we need these conditions met. And it might be 16, 17, conditions, some of which the borrower has nothing to do with. It could be that the appraisal came in and they inadvertently said boulevard when it was street. It can be something as simple as that. It can be something as simple as the title work coming in and it doesn't have Joseph M. Humphrey. It just has Joseph Humphrey, right? So it can be little things like that. But again, everything has to match perfectly because it's going to be recorded once it's done. And once it's recorded, it has to be recorded properly in order to get, to get everything, the records to be accurate. So the underwriter is the one who makes that determination as far as if the loan meets the criteria of the program. So for instance, if you have an FHA loan, the underwriter obviously is an expert in and has the guidelines of FHA that if your loan package meets all those guidelines and those specificities, then they will approve the loan, right? They might approve it and they will approve it oftentimes without having everything in, right? We've stated that this person has a 401k, but if the documents that we have in aren't the proper documents, they will approve the loan conditioned that they get the proper documents in for the 401k. This is like an example. So it's important to know how that actually works. Once all the conditions are cleared, then you receive what is known as a clear to close. The clear to close, guys, in our industry is, like a kid with Santa Claus, coming to town. It's just that's what we're here for. We're here to get our loan cleared to close, because at that point we know that everything is basically done from the perspective of us as a lender. We've done our part by getting the loan cleared to close. Now it goes to the funding department or the closing department first, that they draw up the paperwork, ship it off to the title company. The client goes to the title company, both the seller and the buyer, not at the same time, but the same title company, because they have different documents to sign. But the point is, that's when you go, ladies and gentlemen, to go sign for your home, right? Once that loan it goes from the underwriter to the closing department, then it moves to, once the documents are printed out and sent to title, right? And everything's balanced. We know exactly the amount that you got to bring to the table. We know exactly all the parameters of the loan, right? You'll be notified about how much money you have to bring to the closing table. And by the time you get to the closing table, your loan file would have already moved to the funding department. We got the cause for the cause.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Morning Show. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with this morning?
Sam B.
Okay.
Sam B, your clock. I guess our clocks are off. And listen, our clock in the studio says 10:50. I'm like, well, Sam calling back. Sam, hold the line, brother.
Hold on, okay, because my clock says 11 o'clock.
No, man, bro, you speaking principles even by doing what you're doing, man.
His phone is early too.
Nice.
His clock is early.
Oh wow.
His clock is early. His phone is early.
Sam Bean is the living epitome. Hey, listen to this, Bean. Here's what you just proven, man. You are the living epitome of to be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late, and to be late is to be forgotten. Ain't nobody
Exactly.
Sam Bean, boy. I love it, man. Stay on the line,
Oh,
Sam.
man.
Stay on the
All
line.
right, man.
Stay on the line. Because we only got 2 more points to close out on. Bullet point number 14 out of 15 is you must, ladies and gentlemen, during this process of buying a home, you must go on a spending freeze. I know it's inconvenient. I hear people all the time. They'll be saying, Joe, what do you mean? I said, listen, a spending freeze basically means exactly what it is. You cannot go out and buy anything. I don't care if you know this house doesn't have a refrigerator or have a stove. You have to close your loan, let that loan fund, and then even wait a few days after that quality control audit is done before you go and let somebody run your credit for some new appliances. I'm just telling you, people have gotten their loan rescinded as a result because now they put items to their credit that now offset and change their debt to income ratio. And anything that materially changes your profile once the underwriter has it becomes extremely problematic. So you don't want to ever go and buy anything. I've had people, and we talked about it at one time, right, Malcolm, where people were going out trying to trick the system and buying a car, purchasing a car right before they close their home, thinking that it's not going to be picked up because it won't be on your credit report, and neither would your home that you're buying be on your credit report to the finance company of the car, of the automobile. But that's just old school buffoonery. It doesn't work that way. Technology makes it that the moment somebody pulls your credit as a client of mine, I'm immediately notified. And more importantly, my QC team, my quality control team is immediately notified. So you don't try and outslick the system. Go on a spending freeze. And a spending freeze also means if you have a friend that you loaned money to, right? And now they miraculously want to pay you back, right? Do not take that cash and deposit it into your bank account that you're using to pull funds out that's going to be used for your closing. Don't contaminate that bank account with money that is not seasoned or sourced. And we cannot source cash. How do we know where this cash came from? How can you source cash? You can't. All you can do is season cash if it's not sourced, right? We can season money because let's say if somebody puts a $20,000 in their bank account, right? FHA has a rule, and actually Fannie and Freddie has a rule as well. It's a 60-day seasoning process, which basically means you got to have that money in your account for that long of a time before it can be utilized in this transaction to purchase a home. So if somebody puts money down or puts money into their account while they've already gotten into the underwriting situation, all it does is throws a red flag on that account, and you don't want to do that. So a spending freeze doesn't just mean that you're not spending. It also means you're not making notated deposits into your account. Of course, if you get a direct deposit that's coming from your employer or something of that nature, that doesn't have to be seasoned because it's sourced. We know it's coming from your employer, right? But if it's just cash, hold on to it. Matter of fact, pay your bills with that if you want to, right? But don't put it into your account until after your closing and after you've been cleared to do so, right? The fifth part of this process is real simple. Let's cue up that song here, by the way. The fifth part of the process is real simple, is what we all strive for and what the whole intent of the process was, that now you close your loan and you get your keys at closing to your new home. That's the process. So we want to make sure that, again, that's why the book was written, so we can sort of like get more detailed and granular, but it's to educate people who would otherwise not have that education because they've never purchased a home before, or they've only purchased a few homes. And the last time they did was over 10 years ago. And the laws and the different compliance things have changed since you purchased last. So it'll help you to navigate through. And that's that process, guys. So we want to go to halftime because I'm excited to bring my guy on. So let's rock that track. And Sam Bean, listen to this track that I'll be putting together, man. I'm trying to be like you when I grow up, bro. And the second one.
All right, y'all. Welcome again to the Cup of Joe Morning Show. We'll be right back.
Cup of Joe Morning Show. Cup of Joe Morning Show. Cup of Joe Morning Show. Cup of Joe Morning Show.
of Joe Morning Show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Yes, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. The second hour of the Cup of Joe Morning Show. Listen, guys, it is Wednesday. It's hump day, and we're doing this every Wednesday from 10 a.m. Central Standard Time to 12 noon, the high noon hour. We might go a little over because, Malcolm be letting me just talk. He let me talk a little bit. But the bottom line is we're going to be here for you. And we always want to give you news that you can use and certainly information that can help change your situation. So with that being said, we're ready to get started on our second half. And I'm excited to bring a gentleman to the line. And listen, I feel like I'm doing and he'll know what I mean when I say this, the coffee break call by saying he's no stranger to success. He's been acquainted with success. He has more of your solution than he'll ever have your problems. And I speak of none other than my good friend, Mr. Samuel, the economic equalizer Bean. How you doing, my brother?
I'm fantastic, dog. How about yourself?
Man, if I was any better, you already know my last name would be Bean, and I'd be living next door, brother. But all that being said, all is well. All is well. So what?
Yeah, no, I'm excited, bro. I see you got the podcast fired up and everything. You got here rocking and rolling, man. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, man. I'm like my wife said, she said, Joe, I've never seen you this busy in this short period of time. And I said, honey, I have big dreams still. I just turned 58 a couple of days ago, Bean, and I think it's important that anybody, without being, self-demoralizing, you want to make assessments on where you are and where you are looking to go. And I'm just a firm believer, man, that at age 58, by the will of God, listen, I think I've lived a pretty decent life, but I have hopefully more life to live. But I believe there's less in front of me than there is behind me. So I don't want to waste time, doing things that wasted time. I want to collapse time frames and do things that I know I should have been doing. Remember the old saying, it's never too late to become what you might have been.
Of course.
But we got to do something in order to become what we might have been. So that's what we're doing, man. But what's going on with you, man? Let's just have a quick conversation, man. Let us know, first of all, who you are and why is it so significant that Cup of Joe always, I'm talking like it's somebody else, Cup of Joe always speaks so highly of Sam and Kim Bean. Let people know who is on this line by just giving a quick background, a little bio on who the Beans are.
Man, I wish you would have did that. Oh man, no. I mean, just out of Houston, Texas, bro. I just, grew up in Fifth Ward, Texas. We like our own little city within Houston. You know what I mean? So, projects, government assistance, welfare, hand-me-down clothes, whatever it is, powdered milk, block cheese, toys for tots, all that good stuff. We, like I said, we had nothing, but we had it all. If you know what I mean. So. That's how it started. Fast forward, to the military. Did about 6 years in the military doing Desert Storm. Came home, went into real estate, and went into real estate from 96 till 2008. But also had a 12-year window while I was in network marketing at the same time while I was in real estate, and did network marketing all the way up to my 50th birthday 2 years ago. And that's when I retired from the industry. Then as far as real estate, again, I had the bubble burst on me in 2008. So we lost 3 companies and went full blast on real estate. I went full blast on network marketing. And now we've just been investing, training, coaching, mentoring, and traveling, for the past 3 years. So
Right.
That's kind of what it is in a nutshell. And two amazing boys, 12, 15. When I say the wind beneath my wings, I don't just say it because it's in a song, but because she is my beautiful wife, Kim Bean, my partner in crime, and just my partner in everything. So it's us doing what we do, and just going out there and serving the masses.
Absolutely. And I met you, Sam, both you and Kim, somewhere around 2010, and you were what was known as a diamond in an organization, which means that you were, producing as a team leader, over $200,000 in product sales. Now that product had, it happened to be coffee, right? But
Right.
to imagine that you're producing as a group a minimum of $200,000 per month, that would be the equivalent of having what, about 4 or 5 Starbucks at the time, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much the same. So when I first met this gentleman, he was in that capacity, and he was known as, and I'm sure you still are known as, the people's champ, because because Sam would be the guy that would. I remember I met you the first time, bro. This is how my memory goes.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I knew who you were because you were Sam Bean. You were the people's champ. But when I actually engaged you, we were at an event, and it was the meeting after the meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were holding court in the hotel lobby, and I swear to God,
Wow.
man, my feet were aching, but my ears were ringing, and my heart was like missing a beat, like running, racing, because of the information you were sharing. And I swear, man, you had to be sharing up to like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And the crowd was dwindling down, but I stayed there listening to everything that you said. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's some of those same things that we live our life as a principal by. We never made it to a certain level, but we also didn't, I say this to say this, right? I told Cindy one time, she said, babe, don't ever think that we didn't get anything from all that time with that company, because what we learned was invaluable. It was like being in an educational system that you just don't appreciate it until after you completed that curriculum. And now when circumstances come up, you can navigate better. And we've been navigating ever since that experience. So I say all that to give like a little backdrop, but talk with us, man. Talk with me about the importance of mindset, man, and the mindset training that some of these network marketing companies are keenly aware and built upon. But talk with me from your perspective as one who both teaches it and lives it. What are some of the advice you would give, and even the importance of having the right mindset, regardless of what it is you're looking and endeavoring to do? Talk with me about that.
Oh, boy.
I know.
Well, first of all, going back to that night, man. That night, yeah, we was up to about 3:30, 4 o'clock that morning. As a matter of fact, I think I actually fell asleep a little bit, while I was doing it, because I was on fume, and I think it was I don't know if it was you or Doug Diamond or Arcelo. One of y'all say, hey, look, we gotta let him get to bed, man. He's been giving and poured, and he's nodding off right now. He answering questions in his sleep.
Right.
Like it was one of those things on that. So it's one of those nights we'll never forget in California. I think it was in California, but yeah, that was one of those nights, bro, where you just pour and pour and pour into people, and it's because you understand that the information that you're pouring into people ain't yours to keep to yourself. You know what I mean? And they always say the person who teaches the most earns the most. When it comes to the person who's actually implementing and utilizing what they're learning. And so for me, just pouring into you guys, has prepared me, over the years for the things that I do today. The repetitious pouring, just going out there, using the information and taking, the results and teaching people and evolving from it. That's put me in a position where I can be extremely versatile, over the years, and so it's the same thing going back to you and Cindy. You said, you weren't diamonds in the company, but the thing I understood is that you're diamonds in life, you're diamond in leadership, you're diamond in real estate. You took a lot of leadership, information and applied it to your life. You took a lot of experiences that you glean from other people, and you apply it to your life, and that raised your value, your let's say your value to the marketplace, because you have something now more value to offer. And that's the thing, it's outside of just your need, and that's the thing about network marketing that people miss out on, and is one of the reasons why about 90% of people in network marketing don't actually make money, is because, again, a lot of them don't want to go through the process, the maturation process, if you will, or the growth process, the personal development process, the self-help process, and address the areas of their life that they're lacking, address the areas of the skill sets that they're lacking, address the areas of leadership that they're lacking. And when you don't do that, your financial thermostat stays the same. So if you're a $30,000 a year person, or a $50,000 a year person, or a $100,000 a year person on your job, that's what you make, per year. That's where your thermostat is set. Okay, and so if the thermostat is set there, the only way you can adjust it is by getting dumber or getting smarter. Okay, and so people in network marketing who have access to information and leaderships who are performing at the highest level, they take that information, they steal every nugget that they can from that person, then they go out there and apply it, and then get feedback on the application thereof, and then grow from it. Those are the people, the 3%ers, the 5%ers, and in some cases the 10%ers that go out there, and people, outside of their network marketing groups and companies see the growth in them, in their churches, at their jobs, in their families, a lot of times you don't even know what's happening, but because of association and application, it is. And so you and Cindy are well beyond diamonds, in life and in leadership and real estate and in business. So I'm excited to see, I'm excited to see you guys do the things that you're doing today, bro.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And listen, again, I believe that everything that happens to us in our life can certainly be utilized to better our lives, be it a good situation or a bad situation we find ourselves through. And one of the things that I've learned, it was like a commonality with every successful person I've met. And I want you to speak on this a bit. Everybody has a story, right? But not everybody's story is worth telling, I believe. But I believe you have a story worth telling. But here's a component that I want to pull out. Most people, I think, because they have a perception of what success looks like. Dr. Napoleon Hill, of course, Think and Grow Rich says that success is failure turned inside out, right? And every very successful person I've met, and yourself included, has a story to tell of the hardships and the things when the lights were being turned off, when the homes were being foreclosed on, or or the cars were being repossessed. And some people just let the story stop there, and they lose the whatever that fire in their belly to move beyond that part of the story. Talk about the importance of not that you have to have, terrible things happen, but if terrible things do happen, what advice could you give that will keep people motivated and they will keep them incentivized, even internally, that they won't give up because they've been punched in the face by life? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we got to think about the humility. Let's start with the humility side of it first, the humility and the ego side of it. Okay. As a man, especially as an African American man today in society, you don't want to be looked at as a failure. You don't want to be looked at as somebody who needs help, who has to ask questions. You want to be the man. You want to be the source, and it's pride, it's ego, and it's a lack of humility and understanding. And when I look at the story that we had, that was a night and day situation. And I know I was telling people, the story, when I was in network marketing, about all the great things I was doing in my heyday prior to me being in that company, and how many houses I sold to celebrities, and how many and a program, and how I just took a program from nothing, from its infancy stage, and just blew it up, in the real estate industry. And at that time, I was broke. Yeah, and so I was going through, and I was literally moments away from foreclosure, moments away from repossession. As a matter of fact, one of the cars I voluntarily let go back to repossession, you can have it back. I'd rather take the $750 and put it on my newborn's Christian academy and so he can have good, just a good place to be while we're out here hunting and building and we're rebuilding our life.
Mm-hmm.
Bankruptcy, there's moments away from bankruptcy, and so like it was upside down. And I'm telling people, about the things that I used to do instead of telling people about what I was going through. And the moment I sat down with my coach and mentor at the time, and he said, right now you need to be transparent. You need to roll up your sleeves. You need to tell people, where you are, and that this vehicle is a vehicle that you believe will get you out of it.
Exactly.
And the moment I flipped that switch and said, you know what, that's the guy's honest truth. That's what I really do need to be doing. And I do, and as opposed to, telling people what I used to do, because this thing, it's when if they see me succeed with that story, right, of me being a real estate selling celebrities' homes and stuff like that in Houston, they're going to believe that they can't be successful unless they had that background. So had I got, a large level of success at that point in time, it wouldn't have been sustainable, one, and two, I wouldn't have been able to duplicate that through anybody, because your success is not duplicatable to other people based on your resume. So my struggle was relatable to a lot of people at that time. And a lot of people needed money. A lot of people needed help. A lot of people facing a lot of things that I was facing. And to see us come through it, using the coffee company at that time, getting to a point where we were at $55,000, $60,000 a month, getting to a point where we had, oh my God, you talk about our best month in the company, 1.25 mil in a month. Getting to that point and people seeing, us flourish, shine, evolve, have things, travel the world. It really put people in a position where they can be open, transparent, tell you what they were going through, so you can actually help them. And then you can go out there and start their healing process and their renovation process, And so the story, everybody doesn't need one, but it makes for you to, it makes for relatability when you have one.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at the movies out there, like this, there are no really good movies out there at all where you just start, at the top and you stay at the top. It's you start at the bottom, and you go through the peaks, the valleys, and you cry and you hurt and you lose and everything else in those movies, and then you win, and that's a box office smash.
Right.
And it's the same thing in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing in life. People love an underdog. That's why for me, I've never ever wanted to be, the person who people put on a pedestal at the top. I always wanted to have something to fight for, something to scratch for, because that's when somebody betting against me or talking down on me, stabbing me in the back, whatever it was, I needed that abstract thing, if you will. I needed that one thing that would push me, poke me, prod me, if you know what I mean. And that story, the next story. What is my next hardship? Who is my next, defiant opposition? That's the type of stuff I feed off of. So I use it as a bonus and as a plus, as opposed to using it against me. I allow my pain to be my push.
Oh, write that one down. You allow your pain to be your push. Yeah. We always talk about someone's why, and your why is like what hurts you, and I picked that up as I was listening to you share that, but that desire to get to change and get out of that situation. Now you find a vehicle of change, and it could be what it was for you and I, or it could be whatever someone else chooses. But I think you have to your point, still believe in yourself in spite of your circumstances. I tell people all the time, man, we're greater than the sum of our circumstances. Our circumstances is nothing more than, the conditions in which we operate in. But if we get into the right vehicle, it can go through this rough terrain, you know what I mean, and get us
right
where we want to go. So let's talk a bit, man, about again. I want to stay with you on this mindset thing. I was always, and I guess even to this day, we talked about humility. I did a little podcast the other day, my first one on my birthday, and I talked about humility, where it's literally by definition to me, knowing that someone else, is doing something and getting better results at a thing than you are. So the humility comes when you submit yourself to the wisdom of their best practices, as opposed to saying, "Hey, I'm 58 years old and you only 35, so how you gonna tell me what to do?" No, that's ego right there. and ego
Right.
don't get you nowhere good.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to what we used to always do, I want to pick your brain on this. My audience, the listening audience, may want to know what are some of the books and audio that you would recommend that could help get the proper mindset that would allow you to see a bigger picture. You know, I know Think and Grow Rich is obviously one, but what are some of the ones
All right.
you suggest?
Man. Okay. So mindset. Mindset. So when I look at the things that really help me out outside of Think and Grow Rich, we'll start with, let's say, the magic of thinking big.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because again, just the thought process has got to be huge. If you're thinking small, you'll earn small. Okay. And you'll play not to lose. If you think big, okay, you'll play to win, and you'll have big enough goals where even if you miss your goals, you are still far beyond where you would have been if you would have played small. So the magic of thinking big, the magic of believing. You just said believing in yourself, period. And that's the thing. There is some level, everybody has belief in themselves, and it's either positive or negative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's either you believe that you can't do it or you believe that you can do it. And, you're going to be right 100% of the time.
Right.
But you got to figure out how to control your belief and how to increase it. But the magic of believing is one of those things that I actually had a book. I had audio. And by the way, I have the books and audios for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just read. I'm not a big reader, but if I got the audio and I found a sweet spot, I'll go read the book. I'll go sit down when I'm not driving, I'm not on my bike or whatever. I'll earmark it and then I'll go and I'll just expand it. But we're a lot of us who are mentally conscious, of mentally conscious period. A lot of you guys are already practicing a lot of these things that you hear in these books. You just don't understand that because you've never read it before.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was in the military, a prime example, I was a designated driver most of the time because I didn't trust nobody else with my life in their hands that they've been drinking. And so one night I did have 2 drinks early on, and 2 of the strongest drinks I ever had. And I hadn't drunk in a while. And that night I went to the bathroom, I looked in the mirror, and I started staring in my eyeballs, telling myself, you're not drunk, you just calm down, relax, and count, and all the stuff that you normally do. And then you talk yourself sober. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, then years later, I'm saying 2 decades later, I'm reading the book Magic of Believing, and I'm listening to the audio, and he talks about that.
Exactly.
And I'm like, wow, he defined it for me, right? He gave it meaning, right? He crystallized it and clarified it for me, and this is something that I can actually practice,
mm-hmm.
right? And so it actually came back again because the mindset is huge, guys. You ever heard, the story, of the guy who was working at night at the meat market and locked himself in the freezer, and he froze to death. They found him next morning froze to death, body like a rock, a hard icicle, frozen to death, right? But when they realized, the temperature of the freezer was warm, they were perplexed based on the fact that they understand how he froze to death in a broke freezer. Well, he thought because the door locked and he was locked in, trapped in, and it was in the freezer. He was in an environment in the freezer. His body said, you're going to freeze to death. And he froze to death based on the fact that his body told him to, not because it was cold. And so my brother was going through a situation, medically, and where we were called to the hospital, and the doctor himself told us, hey, look, come now because we might be in his last moments. And he was in the bed shaking, and like he was freezing cold.
Mm-hmm.
And my sisters were crying, and I'm like, this is good. Y'all get out because y'all freaking him out. The doctor ain't told him anything. He's freaking and shaking. He can't talk. And so I'm talking to him, telling him, hey, look, first of all, it's not cold in here. Stop shaking. And I'm telling him, I'm talking to him, and I'm pointing to him, dude, this is about 8 years ago. And me and my brother just got back from Colombia last week for his 50th birthday. And so, again, you can talk yourself into life, or you can talk yourself into death. but you can also talk yourself into poverty, or you can talk yourself into wealth. Okay, and so life and death comes from the tip of the tongue, just so as poverty and prosperity. So anything you talk from the tip of your tongue, okay, and you put out in the universe, it can happen, shall happen if you committed to talking about it enough. So, and applying whatever it is that you need to apply behind it, good or bad, negative or positive. So that mindset, the magic of believing, magic of thinking big, outside of like the other personal development stuff, those are two of the biggest things, because the mind is the one thing that you have to program properly in order for it to function properly.
Absolutely. And you and just dialoguing, you made mention of another book, and I might be slaughtering its name, but I think you remember the book, What We Say When We Talk to Ourselves, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you say when you speak, when you talk to yourself? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. The tongue, a powerful force. Let's see, what was
Hung
it?
by the tongue. Remember Hung by the Tongue?
Yep, hung by the tongue as well. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Hung by the tongue. Yeah, the tongue, a powerful force. What do you say when you talk to yourself? And that's the thing that you have people who are out there. They're not in those environments. I think that's some hunky dory, like it's just like over the top, man. Y'all lost your mind, crazy type of thing, and that's the sad part about it, because again, your ego won't allow you to do something that you didn't come up with, which is what it's all about anyway. Your brain won't allow you to endorse anything that's not your own idea. If you do it, it's about force or need. Like, if it ain't sure, if a concept that you come up with, good or bad, you'll endorse it to the depth of it or to the prosperity of it. And for me, not growing up in this environment, personal development, I had to literally get used to it. I had to embrace it. I had to be open to it, and then I had to, go ahead and allow it to soak in over the years. And man, when that happened to me, everything changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a strange dynamic that what I've discovered anyway was there were people that came from less than like, let's say, foreign people that come in and they fought their way from their country to get here.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to be statistically a lot more successful, more rags to riches stories. But I think it's to the point that their mindset is set that when your back is against the wall, you come out fighting.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of like the mindset that most people have. And if you don't have that mindset, we need to adopt that mindset, because that's
right
when we find ourselves, operating in our greater self, when we feel like we're at the proverbial end of the road, or our back is against the wall. So we put the proper energy to get up out of that situation. A lot of the immigrants, I don't want to say that derogatorily, but a lot of the immigrants have that mentality, that grind. And I was telling my wife one time, I need to write a book called the Mindset and the Grind of an Immigrant, because that's what we need to grind. Like, if we don't do it, we're going back to another land that is not flowing with milk and honey. You know what I'm saying? And I think with us, we got it good in America, but most people, I think, they get more comfortable in their pain than allowing that pain to push them, like the dog sitting up on the nail on the porch, type of situation,
But that's the thing when you look at and when you look at the stories, we always go back to the stories. And when you look at the hardship stories from the ghetto, you make it out because of sports, or you make it out because of drugs, positive or negative.
Mm-hmm.
Both are extremely successful, right? And what they do, because they put a lot of focus in what they do. They master it. Like some of them, like I said, some of the best minds in the world are, not just 6 feet beneath the earth, but they're also locked away in cells. And they just put their brain power to the wrong thing, or to something criminal.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up in Fifth Ward, so I saw it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For people, the promotion was play sports and get out. And that's, other than that, it's not looking good. For an immigrant, like I said, the person who's coming in from another country, they're looking at, the land of milk and honey. They're looking at, that's where the pot of gold is. That's where the life is. That's where we can now come in. And it's been proven. We have a system of people getting it. All you have to do is make it to America,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest is up in our hands. And so, and then we'll have people over there with a system who we can follow their system, and we can get their assistance, and we can go out and we can send money back and take care of the families and bring more people over. And again, that's their conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like that when you look at a person who is here from another country, you know, I admire you for getting here, leaving everything that you believe in, everything you love, everyone you love to get here to do something, you know, for your family. You know, that was me in the military. I left everybody without telling anybody I was going until the day before I left. I didn't even tell my mom until the day before I left. You know, but you know, I did it because I knew I had to. They are doing it because they know they had to.
Right.
And you know, so but I said when you think about that community, though, this is where the community is solid for people coming over. There have been decades, you know, of people getting over here successfully and sending the blueprint back.
Mm-hmm.
And so here, again, you have people who, you know, the blueprint is sports, you know, in African American neighborhoods, in the ghetto, and where people are poverty stricken. And that mindset is sports or illegal or get a job, work for the rest of your life, you know, those type of things. You have a very, very few who actually go out there and become extremely successful. And it's because they disassociate themselves with the environment and planted themselves firmly into an environment that's conducive for success. They put themselves in environments where you have people who are doing real estate on a high level like yourself, people who are in the technology space, people who are in the crypto space, people who are in these spaces that are making millions of dollars or multiple six figures a year, and they're learning from these people as opposed to, you know, continuing the cycle of conditioning that they grew up around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to just go through a couple of questions with you, my brother, and just pick your brain, because again, we're just having conversations with a good friend here, Samuel Bean, and he's known as the economic equalizer. And listen, he has a track record of success. Both he and his wife, or wherever they go, they serve their way to the top. You know, so I certainly appreciate that, and I appreciate everything about this gentleman. So I'm just picking a millionaire's brain so we can get information downloaded on this broadcast. So here's the one question I have: what advice, if any, would you give someone, Sam, that is ready to give up? They're at the end. They're at their wits' end, proverbially at their wits' end, thinking that, you know, they failed and they've just fallen short, but they still have life left. What would you say to them? And again, not to motivate them, but what would you say that might inspire someone who's in a situation of feeling defeated, ready to give up and throw in the towel?
Well, first of all, Les Brown on one of his podcasts, or one of his, you know, his personal development CEOs talked about, you know, a lot of people who are existing, who you see at work, who you see at church, who you see in these streets, who you see on Facebook and Zoom. A lot of these people have already taken the proverbial crushing blow. Like life has hit them with a blow so hard that they're out on their feet. Mm-hmm. And they believe that they personally believe that they're knocked out, but their body just won't lay down. Right? It's like life is over, but the only thing you have to wait is for the body to realize that life is over, and it's just you just bury them. That's where they are mentally, emotionally. They have nothing left. And for me, environment is everything. Like I said, you can't quit when you're not around quitters. Like you put yourself in a position where everybody's always positive, even when you don't want to be. When everybody's always winning, even when you've always been losing. Like if you've only lost, or you've had some of the biggest losses in your life, or you know, regardless of what those losses are, if you're around people who are winning and who bounce back and stuff, I'm just telling you, it's a whole lot easier for you to continue on and change your mindset as opposed to being by yourself and thinking for yourself, because you have nothing positive to think about when you hold your future. You know, in your own hands with that current mindset, that frame of mind, it does nothing for anybody. And It's easier for you to quit. It's easier for you to give up. You have a lot of people out there who were suicidal and nobody knew about it because they didn't talk to anybody. They wasn't around anybody.
Right.
And again, you had no help. You didn't have a chance. So this is where people need to start being transparent. This is where people need to start talking to people who have their answers and not their problems.
Mm-hmm.
And saying, hey, look, who do you know was in a situation, like mine? And and that came through it. And what did they do? Or can you introduce me to them?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, it's like counseling or therapy without actually going into counseling to somebody who's a shrink. It's like you're going to somebody who, like for me, when I say I was at the brink of foreclosure at my house, I joined Remax. Not to give them any pub, but I joined Remax
Right.
45 days before my house was foreclosed on. And you pay rent there, right? And my rent was $1,900 a month, right? And so I needed to make money, right? And I had to come up with $1,900. Well, $900 first, and then the other $900 on a payment plan. That's how bad it was. I had to put my other half on layaway. And so, but the guy believed in me, and so I worked from 8 to faint. I was the first person at the office every day. I was on the phone, working leads and everything. But I was also up at night, like literally, looking at infomercials. And I came across the infomercial one day, and it was about short sales. And I'm like, you know what? Nobody in Houston was really doing short sales. And so I said, you know what? I made that my niche. And so I used my access to real estate, from Remax. And I took my last $300. I went and bought some yellow signs, and I said, if you're going to, basically I put signs in all of the areas that had arm rate mortgages,
Mm-hmm.
straw scam houses where people, basically built and raised and overinflated the appraisals and stuff like that. I'm like, you know what? If I lose everything, I'll have it back, because I believe in this and I believe in me, and we work. And so every night at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, Kim and she would drive and she would stop. I would put signs out, and I ended up with this 86 listings in 35, almost 40 days.
Oh, wow.
Because I came up with a program with that short sale service to have 86 listings. And so that's when I was, again, selling houses to the stars, because I had $500,000 house that I can get off for $250,000. I had $1 million house that I can get off for $600,000, and because of the short sale situation, and at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but again, I had no money, Joe. I had a friend, and he gave me a 30-day loan. His name is Lester. I love Lester. He's a fireman. He's an ex-fireman. Now he's retired. But Lester gave me $2,500. And at $2,500, I took 100% of that $2,500 and opened up a suite on 666 Harwood. Get that, 666 Harwood.
Wow.
So, yeah. So them numbers, but I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and from scratch, within 45 days, I built out, a real estate company, a loss mitigation company that I was using for short sales, and I partnered with and moved in a mortgage company, to help our people get financing and stuff like that. So one-stop shopping, and literally, like I was meeting at the title company to drop off that check to save my house, which is $18,000 that I need to get in 45 days. And I made it to the office 5 minutes before the people came on that Friday to pick up the checks, and after 5 minutes, my house would have been on the chopping blocks on that Tuesday.
Mm.
But it's just like, for me, everybody wants the answer. Don't nobody want to go to work unless it's 1 + 1 = 2, and they know that they know exactly what they're going to get for the work that they put in. And that's not how life works. It's not how success works. Once you have what your creator sends you, I'm not going to say, what my creator is, but who your creator is and what your creator sends you for your life preserver. You don't question the life preserver. You just take it and you run with it. And that's what we did, just literally thinking positive, being around people who were making millions of dollars in real estate, even though I had nothing. And we turned around and built a small fortune almost overnight, and not just saving our house and our life, but financially, but again, propelling us into a whole nother situation of prosperity. So, that's kind of just one scenario, being a mindset mentality. I may have slept, Joe, in 45 days, I may have slept 2 hours a day in 45 days. Like last night, I was just telling you last night, this to be true, the evidence is on your phone. I was up listening to podcasts, money podcasts, to 5 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
Till I text you. And you got to be, I need to be asleep. Well, no, I need to be wealthier. I need to be more secure. I need to be, I need to be ready for, what's going on in life economically right now.
Right. Right.
And so I'll sleep later on, but right now I can't afford to sleep. And a lot of people who can't afford to sleep, quite frankly, are sleeping.
Yeah, man. That speaks to a certain mentality and a certain grind that you say I can sleep later because, we used to always say money don't sleep, so why should I? We're trying to get on the same page with it, and I think that effort and even that mindset and that determination, literally that decision, I think that you've made makes you more attractive to money, right? It attracts money to you, So
let me add one thing to that, because we are talking about mindset, right? And since we are talking about mindset, I want to throw something else, in here for you guys. And this is when you look at a book, by the way, Definition of Purpose. Napoleon Hill, the Master Key to Riches.
Yes.
There's a chapter in the Master Key to Riches, that book called Definition of Purpose, and it shows you how to outline your life going forward. But when you look at what really helped me out through that time, it wasn't me just being strong enough on my own, obviously. It was, Kim being there, but I really and truly listened to Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret, that 30-minute version that you can find on YouTube for free.
Exactly.
At least 4 or 5 times a day. I will ride around with it, and I will, because at that point in time, that's something that if you go through that process over a 30-day period of time, what happens is that word impossible becomes, non-existent. It doesn't exist to you. It's a word. If you hear it, if somebody hears somebody say it, it'll bug you, at this point, because there's nothing that's impossible, if you're willing to go out and go through the process, to make it possible. So I listened to that audio as much as I can. When I wasn't working, when I was working out, walking around, when I was putting up signs, I'm listening. If I wasn't on a phone call with somebody or following up with somebody that actually had something that I needed to do at that time, I was listening to the Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale.
Absolutely.
Every day, 4 or 5 times a day.
And I don't know who put me up on that. It might have even been you, because you guys would say things like, turn your automobile to a mobile university.
Mobile library. Yep. Mobile university, mobile library.
And I remember when we were out in California and we weren't making any money in Cali. We were literally surviving by the skin of our teeth, by the grace of God, and the fire that was in both Cindy and my gut, from day to day, to get up and do something, as opposed to sitting in a position that we know we were not comfortable in, right? Living in California and the circumstances that we were enduring. But I remember doing the same thing, man, listening to, and I might even mention on this show, listening to that audio all day. I would not even I couldn't even, as much as I love music, Bean, I would not listen to, and especially in California, I was not listening to any of my favorite music, because I was so much wanting to get get out of the situation I was in. And Earl Nightingale talked about a 30-day process, a 30-day challenge, right? Yeah. Of changing yourself, seeing yourself as in a greater dimension, and whatever the case may be, how he worded it. But it literally changes the way you perceive things, man. That's why I'm really strong on talking about mindset, because if you got two people, one, they can have the exact same education, right? The same degrees, right? But you got somebody that's got a fire in his gut, right? Who has gone through personal development, who realizes he's greater than the sum of his personal circumstances, and he desires something greater than he's experienced. I don't care what goes on. That person is going to probably come out on top compared to the one who is same education, but doesn't have that fire and desire in their heart. Don't have that mindset to say, you know, yeah, in spite of what good I have going on in my life, I'm grateful for it, but I know there's so much more that I could accomplish, and not so much for me and my four and no more, but for the greater community. And I believe
Yeah.
that's a different mindset that has to be developed as well, because if you solve a problem that only affects, you know, a few people, your solution is only going to generate a few dollars. But
Hmm.
if you solve a problem that affects the masses, I believe it opens up an opportunity for you to have massive, you know, monetary success as well.
Hmm.
Now, speaking of that,
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm not saying anything that you would not certainly you would not agree with, because this is just what we know to be just a common denominator of success. But how would you, Sam, define? I know this is a very what is uh, almost like a rhetorical question, but how would you define success? Now, I know everyone defines it differently, but how does Sam Bean define success? And I think the answer may shock or surprise a few people. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, yeah, and success doesn't have a dollar amount on it. Most people, that's why they're not successful, because they contribute to a dollar amount and the financial scoreboard. It's a worthwhile goal, worthwhile goal. And so for me, success for me is being here for my sons every day and not on somebody's job. I'm giving my sons 100% of my time now,
Mm,
and basically because I can afford to.
mm,
I give my wife, I'm here for her at the house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I give her my time now. And again, it's just one of those things for me. Unsuccessful was, my father, you know, uh, not being able to teach us anything because he didn't know anything from when it comes to wealth generation.
mm.
As a plumber, as a person who he even did a little bootlegging, on Sundays in Houston when it was illegal to sell alcohol on Sundays. He had his little hustle, but it's like,
He was pushing moonshine, bro.
yeah, he was telling us really the real stuff, but now on Sundays you couldn't sell nothing in Houston on Sundays. But it was dry county on Houston on Sundays.
Right.
But that was he gave us the best he had, and but it's like we had hand me downs. We had, again, it was like, success for me was making sure that I bought my kids Christmas presents, not charged for tax. Our refrigerator stays full, and we can have $1,000 grocery bill. And I got two boys who eat everything
Hmm.
per month, and that's not a problem. I don't have to tell a person to eat everything that's on your plate because people starving in Africa. Because I want you to stay full, so you won't ask for nothing else to eat. It was like, you being able to go, and take your family anywhere that you want to, take them. Like last year we went to Miami, for Christmas. That's the first time we ever spent Christmas outside of Houston or Beaumont.
Hmm.
And we went to a Miami Dolphins game and tickets on the 50, right there, and had the club access. Then we turned around and went to a Miami Heat game for my son's birthday the night after that. And, just being able to do stuff like that, with the kids, being able to put them in karate classes and stuff like that, stuff we didn't have access to. I couldn't even play sports when I was in high school because we couldn't afford the $15 insurance.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So it's like me having enough money to do whatever I need to do for my family and for me to be here for them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is success for me.
Right. Right.
Okay, so whatever it is, like I just got back. I took my brother to Colombia for his 50th birthday. He didn't pay for anything. I paid for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's not a bragging thing. I did it because I love him. I did it because I wanted to, and and that was special. It was a special moment for us, knowing how we grew up as kids. Now he has his own land. He has a landscaping service, so he can definitely afford it. But at the end of the day, this is something I wanted to do for him.
Right.
So 2 days later, me and my wife go to Panama. We just got back from Panama yesterday, a day before yesterday, on Monday. And when it was down there with the Panama Canal and watching the IMAX movie about how big it was, but it's just being around the world. For me, traveling is a big thing for me. Taking care of people, my family is a big thing for me, and also being able to now impact people's lives without charging them a thing. I've coached and mentored and taught people for years, decades now, based on my love for it, not because of the dollar value that's behind it. But come to find out, the more and more I've taught them, the more and more it prepared me to make money in the areas that I do make money, without having to charge people I love, which are the people who are in my circle.
Absolutely. And I still, man, listen, I'm foolish enough to believe the Bible, man, that sowing and reaping is real,
Mm-hmm.
But here's a twist to that we don't always reap where we sow, but we always reap
No.
we always reap because we sow, and we have the right heart to
Mm-hmm.
sow. And that's to the point of
Mm-hmm.
you and Kim always being servants, even as diamonds in the organization. We would see Kim running the tables and running around like a chicken with their head cut off, getting things in order to make sure that everything came off without a hitch. And it was really because
Mm-hmm.
of the guests that were getting this information for the first time. We wanted to make sure that there was the best presentation possible so they can make the best
Mm-hmm.
decision for their lives. And to that end, serving the big team in that regard, I believe, is sowing seeds that you guys are, by God's grace, man, being able to live in a harvest, being able to go anywhere you want to go, when you want to go, right? And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Think about it, Joe. We serve so much. When you look at those companies you talk about, we serve so much that we had the stickiest team in the company, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Our team, when a lot of the leads started leaving and going to other platforms and doing other things, our team stayed there. When a lot of people making most of their money on recruiting, the fast money, we made all of our money on the longevity, on the sustainability, based on building relationships and pouring into people and creating a value, for ourselves within that space. And so, when you have the relationships, that you're building, when you're pouring in people will appreciate that. People are loyal to that. And that became the foundation of what would actually put us in a great position when COVID hit. When COVID hit, we had multiple streams of income, but the one that pushed us through was the one that we hadn't even did for 2 years that was still paying us $25,000 a month.
Right.
Based on, just the residual income coming from the residual relationships and the sticky relationships that we built
Mm-hmm.
from pouring into people, and so while people were losing their houses or selling their houses, like we went and bought my wife a dream house,
Mm-hmm.
her dream house. And so in the middle of COVID, like while things are going on, and like I said, it's because of the seeds that we planted and the things that we did, in the years where there was no evidence in the beginning that anything like this would ever happen. It was just based off of faith. It was based off of understanding and based off of alignment, because the people who we aligned ourselves with, they were pro, prosperity. They were pro, personal development and getting it, investing now, get it later type situation, but also investing now, understanding that could happen now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just wanted to kind of, again, just throw that in there, because you don't always have to be, in a place where when 1 + 1 = 2, and what's going to happen, and you got to have it perfect. And you just got to be the perfect person in the perfect mindset at that time in order for great things to happen. Period.
Right. Well, man, I'm hoping that people are getting nuggets from this, brief conversation. And again, it's something that, we're going to listen to. If we're going to listen to anyone in life, I just believe it's better to listen to people that have our solutions rather than the people that have our problems, because misery
Mm-hmm.
does indeed love company, and
Mm-hmm.
we joke about it, but it's a true fact that I state all the time, that most of the times when we think about wealth building and wealth transfer and wealth accumulation, we were taught those things by people who themselves weren't wealthy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
because we have relationship with them, we have love for them, their words hit the target of our heart more succinctly. But if they have no experience with the destination I'm looking to get to, I've found and I've learned to just not take advice from anyone that I just would not, exchange results with,
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I want people like yourself to be on. Not that there's anybody like you, Sam Bean, but you know what I'm saying. People of your ilk
For sure.
to be around, and I like to stay around people like you.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel, man, if you're the smartest one in the room, you need to change rooms,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not living up to
Yeah.
full potential if you're not being stretched. And just being around you, not that you would ever come out and say anything that would cause me to feel intimidated, but your presence and how you do what you do. Not that it's intimidating, but it stretches me. It encourages me. To be stretched, in my estimation, in my definition, means I'm encouraged just by being
Right.
around you. You know what I'm saying?
That's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always said, because it's just, like, I've always been in rooms where, if I'm in a room and then somebody else walks in and the value of the room goes up, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. That's prime real estate right there. That's where I want to be. I want to walk in a room where it's already, again, the value of that room is already a way above what my value is, or I expect people who have that value to walk in. And those are the places that I want to be around. And because this is the thing, you have people out there, who are manipulating people and lying to people. They're teaching lies. They mastered the jargon. They mastered the verbiage. They like, oh yeah, we can get you houses for or no money down houses. We can sell you. They selling you these programs, or they selling you these crypto companies, or they master the jargon, right? But they cannot explain the process. They can. Once you buy into the program, you realize these people really don't know nothing.
Right.
You buy these books and you realize these people really don't know anything. You watch them and you get on live with them after you bought the little ebook for $9.99. You realize, man, I messed up. I'm glad it was only $9.99. I'm glad I didn't buy the big ticket item, because I would have been really mad, and that's what it is. It's smoke and mirrors, marketing, it's manipulation, it's jargon. But you got to find the people who have the results. You got to find the people who've been through the process, not just by themselves, but it's always better to find people who've taken people through the process. Because Michael Jordan, was amazing. He's the greatest. He's the GOAT, and he can't teach somebody else how to be the GOAT. He can only inspire people how to be the GOAT. Without Jordan, there is no Kobe, there is no LeBron, there is no Vince Carter. These guys, again, without somebody that has something that they can aspire to be, a lot of those people wouldn't exist. A lot of people, they be playing other sports, but Jordan himself could not teach. He couldn't coach, because he can't see. He don't understand why people couldn't be great, why you can't wake up early and go to sleep late for what you love.
Right.
And he had that, but you have some people who they make really, really great coaches, but they were not great on the field. But they watched all the greats. They watched all the great coaches. They watched all the great players. They watched everything, and they learned. They were master students, and they participated. Though, they participated. They were in the game, and they became great coaches. Then you had people who, just based off of association, like the Patriots, Bill Belichick. If you ever notice, Bill Belichick had the system, but nobody that left him ever got close to a ring.
Right.
Most of his coaches that try to go out on their own are horrible, and it's because they were a part of the process, but they didn't master it. They don't understand the moving parts like Bill Belichick did.
Right.
And so you got to be leery. You got to be really leery of those people who are out there promising you certainty and promising you 100% this is going to win. This is going to win. And this, you got to be really good at. Look for the resume. I want to know the resume. I want to know who you help and how many people you help besides this person, besides your paid promo person. I want to, just dig deep before you tie yourself to somebody. Don't be too desperate to fall for anything and everything a person tells you. Make them prove it.
Got you. That's what's up. Well, listen, man, we could do this all day long, but Sam, we have literally reached the top of the hour. It's actually a few after the hour on my clock, but the clock here lets us know we're a little bit behind
okay.
the hour. So, man, I thank you so much for your time, and certainly the positive energy and positive vibes that you just always bring. It's just you being you. So, to that end, man, again, salute. I thank you. I don't know if you got any quick parting words you can share that we can close this out, or we're good here.
Yeah, no. This is the thing. Like I said, when you look at where we're at today, guys. Like he said, what is success? Like, so this podcast is over. I'm going outside, and my boys, we're going to be boxing. Like, we got this little boxing setup and stuff we're putting together, and to help with them in their boxing classes. And I go to sleep late at night so I can continue to assure myself that I have days like this every day for the rest of my life if I so chose to. Go out there, figure out what it is that you have to do, you must do and you desire to do, that if you did not do and get accomplished, you would die, on a bed of resentment. And make all of your sacrifices and make all of your actions congruent with achieving it. For 6 years, I didn't listen to music. I turned off rap music for 6 years. And I listen to rap music all the time now, but I listen to it from a different level. But I needed to take that market share of music out of my brain so I can replace it with personal development and information that I was learning from my coaches and mentors. And I tied that, to my purpose, to my goals, to my dreams, and the things that I would resent, not having accomplished if I left this world without it. So find your why, and make sure that it's big enough and bold enough and worthy enough, for you to go out there and change your life around and change how you move around. So turn it back over to you, Joe, man. We can do this all day. And like I said, look forward to coming back on with you at some point in time in the future. All right?
All right, man. I definitely appreciate you, Sam. That's Sam Bean, ladies and gentlemen, the economic equalizer. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Beam, can you hear me? This is Malcolm Jackson.
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Jackson? You doing all right?
Yes, sir. I know we're about to end the show, but I have a funny story, short story I'd like to share with you right quick.
Come on.
You might not see the screen, but the whole time you've been speaking, I've had your picture up there, and I've let the listening audience know exactly who's speaking on this phone call. And when I first put the picture up there, I'm looking at your picture. I borrowed the picture. It looks like it's a globe, a world you're sitting in front of. It looks like,
yeah.
And you're sitting in a chair. But the funny part of the story, sir, is I'm looking at the gold figures in your picture,
Mm-hmm.
and
the bull and bear.
And my first inclination was, why does he have a bull and a pig looking at each other? And I had to look again, and I said, "Oh, you dummy! That's not a pig. That's a bear."
That's a bear, right?
The bull market,
Yeah,
bear
a bull
market.
and a bear. Yeah, I figured it out after a while. I'm like, "Oh, that a bull and bear market. Okay." I felt so dumb. A bull and a pig.
Well, listen, I thought it was a golden calf or something.
Long as gold, man. Long as gold. You know what I mean?
Oh man, that's what's up. Well, Bean, man, we certainly appreciate you, man, and we want you, man, to feel free to join us anytime, man, that you have time, because your presence, man, enhances the whole situation, my brother. So I appreciate you.
I'm coming to the studio one day, man. I'm coming to the studio one day.
Now that's what we want, because that we can be like side by side. I can throw a little elbow in your forearm or something when you're talking.
There you go. And we can both talk about how bad our football teams are right now. So it's all good.
Exactly, because our Steelers ain't doing nothing right now, bro.
The Packers ain't either. Well, I tell you. And the only good thing about the Cowboys is we know they're going home after the first round of playoffs. Thank God.
Well, you just upset a few people with that comment, but I know how you go after those.
Exactly. That's a parting shot right there for you, boys.
There you go.
A parting shot, right?
Yes, sir.
A parting shot.
Yeah, that's how he feels about those Cowboys, man. So you ain't gonna get nothing good out of Sam Bean talking about them Dallas Cowboys, bro.
I'm trying to tell you, nothing.
Not at all.
Yeah, man, y'all be good, man. Keep going, man. Keep on. And Joe, I need to get. I was listening to the back end of that real estate thing that you were doing earlier, the first part one. And I'm like 14 and 15. I'm like, man, I need to go back and listen to that again, man. You know me, I love my real estate, bro. Still, I love my real estate and looking at doing some other things back in real estate again. I'm go ahead and continue to start brushing off my old skills and see what I can do on the real estate side again these days coming up. So
yeah, man, there's
I'm gonna have to give you some things, though.
That's a lot of people
already
to help, man. So yeah, the more brushed up you are and the more help you can bring, man, that only enhances the people's lives, bro. So that's what's up.
Gotcha.
All right, my brother.
And one more thing, I got somebody I'm gonna introduce you to. Also, who's doing some big things in real estate. You know, a young guy. He's about about 42 years old. He basically bought up his whole neighborhood over the last 20 years. He started real estate when he was 18, 19 years old. And he's about, like I said, about 41, 42 right now.
Mm.
And he owns most of his old neighborhood, rebuilding it and doing big things with it. He's got some other stuff going on as well. Tie y'all boys together.
Yeah, that's what's up. Let's do that, man. That's what it is.
All right, big guy.
Chips,
Hey, I'll be blessed, and we'll catch up soon, man. Y'all have a good one.
okay, Ben. Thank you, brother.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, guys, now you have it. There you have it. We went a little over. My apologies on that. But that was our good friend, Mr. Sam Bean. He is a friend of mine, a friend of the show, and now a friend of Malcolm Jackson. Because, again, friends like that you want to have in your friendship coffer, because he's just a really good guy. All right. So with that being said, guys, we thank you for your time. Join us again next week. Same bat time, same bat station here for the Cup of Joe Morning Show on Real Talk 100 Radio. Let's go.
Y'all have a great hump day, everybody. Thank you again for joining the Cup of Joe Morning Show. We want you to tune in every hump day morning, every Wednesday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And you can look forward to learning about everything that's on the flyer as we go into our jingle. We bid you a good day.
Adieu.
Cup of Joe Morning Show. 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 Cup of Joe Morning Show.